What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Played Out Podcast, a competitive focused Age of Sigmar podcast. My name is Kyle, aka Creator Gator, and I'm here as always with my competitive focused friend, James. James, how are you doing?
For a competitive focused friend, I have not been competitive as of late. I've been down in the dregs, my guy. I've lost a lot. I've lost a lot.
Well, that's the first step to getting good at something.
I
being
guess
bad at something
is knowing you have a problem. Right.
True. Understand you. Something you learn more from losses than victories, right? That's
true.
what I've been told.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We try. I mean, that's why we're excited for fourth, because we can we're doing this coverage as it comes out. So our hope is that we learn more pre-fourth, and then as we lose during fourth, it solidifies that learning. You know what I mean?
It's not because I don't know what I'm doing. It's because I'm bad at what I'm doing.
Exactly. And that's all I need. I just need to know that I'm bad at what I'm doing. Not I'm losing because I make poor decisions. Not I'm losing because I'm misinformed.
Yes.
100%. So anyway, speaking of losing, we're talking about the battle tactics and the GHB. That's what they showed us this week. That's the thing we've been waiting for.
Big hotness.
Yep. So we got big confirmations on the things that are going to happen of how we're scoring points and how we're going to be playing this game for the next 3 years. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm super excited about. There's some stuff that I'm whelmed about, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So starting with the first article they released, this is talking about the GHB and the battle plans and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing that I pulled from this article was no grand strats.
No grand strats. Boom. They're gone.
This season. They specifically said no grand strats this season, which means they could always put them back in if they feel like they need to do that. I don't like that. Don't do that. Either confidently do it or don't. You know what I mean? Like,
it's CYA, my guy. They can do whatever they want.
I know. But yeah, no grand strats. I'm happy about that because I hate building a list. Like, I have a Knight Zephyroth who is the leader of who's a general in my army, and she has a special book and a thing that lets her reroll when she casts. She doesn't know any spells because you're not allowed to do that anymore. So she literally just sits in the back and rolls 2 dice. And if she doesn't like the results, she re-rolls them and she teleports. And her goal is to score like 2 victory points for those tactics, for the battle tactic currently, magical dominance, and then be as far away from the enemy as physically possible so I can score 3 for my grand strat, which is like spellcasting savant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fearless general of your army is like the most non-engagement character that exists.
Yep, her whole like thing is to just run away and never she has never been in combat until she dies. That's like her thing. Like, she has a bunch of cool rules where she can like advance and charge and like shoot, or maybe not advance and charge, but like shoot after she runs. You know, so she's supposed to be running around the battlefield doing all these cool things. And it's like, well, what she's really doing is hiding and getting me 5 victory points. And that feels crappy. It also means my storm drakes can never be battle line because I can't make my general dragon and then they don't get to be battle line. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is the way that I can score more points, but it doesn't feel good. So I'm personally really happy to see grand strats go away.
Yeah, it shouldn't be confining in the way that it currently is, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The other thing that they confirmed is that there's going to be 50 max points per game. So it's going to be 10 points per round that you can physically score. 40% of them are going to be battle tactics, and 60% of them are going to be primary. Battle tactics are going to be 4 points when you complete them, and your primary is going to be 6. It's likely going to be hold 1, hold 2, hold more, and you get 2 for each. They've already showed us one battle plan, which we'll talk about later, that is different, and there's some play in that, but it's basically max per turn is going to be 6 for primary, 4 for battle tactics. Which I like this a lot better because I just like having 50. It just makes the
better math. That's just better math.
Yeah.
It's not like 25 to 26 or 25 to 28.
Yeah. And for a tournament especially, it's really nice because you can kind of look and see all of the points overall. There are some battle plans right now which score really high, which means that if you're looking at it kind of an overall perspective, you don't know if they just did really well on the one that you can score 40 points on, or if they, if they did well consistently. So I like that they're standardizing it, and that's kind of all I wanted them.
It should be like that already, but it's like Geomantic Pulse is the one where you can just score like crazy because you can score 10 points you can score 10 or 7 points per turn on primary and secondary, plus your grand strat. So it's like you can score like a crazy amount of, or not like every turn, but the middle 3 turns you can do that.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those that like it way outscores other things like Nexus Collapse, which is there's no more objectives by like
the last 2 turns. We just don't have objectives because 100%. Both of us decided to nuke it.
Because like I don't want you to play.
Yeah, you're gonna play my game. Nobody's gonna play.
Yeah, nobody gets any primary points.
Yeah, hope you're happy with the primary points you already had.
Yeah.
Speaking of battle plans, they said that they're reusing old plans that were voted on by the Warhammer Studio, playtesters, and tournament organizers. And it's basically Age of Sigmar's greatest hits. So they're bringing back 12 plans, and all of them are from previous editions of Age of Sigmar, which I think is fine. Like, I don't think you're going to cover any new ground by doing new between 4 to 6 objective missions. Like, I don't think you need to make 12 new ones every time.
Well, you're gonna like you run into things like limited resources, like the Meltwater mission, where it's like they try to get real funky with the rules, and you're like, this is just like a headache.
No,
you know.
I'm good with the battle plan being relatively simple. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also nice.
A lot of other things to think about.
It's also nice because these are kind of tried and tested. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that they're perfect, but I'm saying that like you listen of the things we could pick, like these ones bubbled to the top. You know, people like liked them and they were balanced for competitive play. You know,
and being realistically like. Of the 12 that they give you, really like 6 are the ones that are like, these are the ones people want to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's nice to go back and like look at all those ones that were like, these are the ones that people actually played and just pull those.
Yeah, 100%.
They all will be edited to fit the new format. We'll talk about that later. But they're going to be relatively familiar. So the other thing they talked about is there's 3 different kind of ways to play here. We got Spearhead, Path to Glory, Match Play. They all have different battle packs. They also have like a First Blood mission pack, which is kind of like baby's first match play. This is what you would play if you like didn't want to introduce a seasonal format. It's just 3 battle plans that are like, this is how you'd play if you don't want to play. You want to play like a match play game, but you don't want to play GHB.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's
worse.
Fine.
It's worse.
I mean, to be fair, 40K had 1. They had like their only war format. You know, there's literally 1 mission that you'll play once to understand how the game works, and then jump right into whatever. And then that type, that First Blood type, is only 4 rounds.
Yeah. It is nice. I mean, like we recently tried to teach one of our friends to play Age of Sigmar, and it was like it's tough. You know, we like distilled a lot of rules out of it just because for the sake of like brevity of the game, and it was still like a bear to get through everything in the mission. Yeah, that
is one thing that I like about like people are memeing about all the modularity in the game. You know what I mean? But it's going to be it's going to be way easier to teach people when you can just physically pull when the game is designed for those boxes to be pulled out and not used. So. The battle plan they showed us is the battle plan 2 for the First Blood, Stake Claim. It looks like a lot of missions that we've seen so far.
Standard. Yeah, very bog standard.
The twist is basically there's 5 current objectives, and the twist is if you are the underdog, you get to remove 1. So nice little way of keeping the players playing together and one person just not running away with it. The mission that they showed us for GHB is Border War, and this is one of those ones they put the year in the top corner where it's 2016. This is the year that they pulled this from. It is a 4 objective mission, and it's cut down the middle with one player having a full territory, one playing having a full territory, which I like that. I don't like the like little half territories or the weird L's.
Yeah, I also don't like that. I like it. Give me boxes.
And this is the one that, like we were saying, this is the one that's a little bit different. So you score 1 victory point if you hold the one that's within friendly territory, wholly within friendly territory. 1 victory point. You score 2 victory points if you hold one of the ones on the border, and then
if you hold either of them. So you can
either of them,
like you can get score for each objective on the border, so you can get 4 points from that.
Alone. And then you score 5 victory points if you control the objective wholly within the enemy territory. So The twist for this one is that you can only score a max of 6, again, trying to keep it so that it's all within 50. And then if you add 1 to the hit rolls for units in the underdog's army if they charge this turn and are contesting an objective wholly within the enemy territory. So if you're going for broke, if you're trying to get that one that's worth 5 victory points, your guys that charge get +1 to hit. So you're like, if you're the underdog.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to, it's like one little more thing that if you're trying to get back in the game, they'll give it to you. So
yeah, you don't need to use an all-out attack. They basically just give you one.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. That seems. I think if you're losing, you're probably forgetting that rule exists. Honestly, like I don't think you're gonna remember or it be super impactful. But yeah, that is another thing. Like they confirmed that basically each battle plan will have an underdog mechanic baked into it, and it's all it's going to be different for each one.
Yeah, I feel like that is also what gives the flavor. You know what I mean? Like the underdog mechanic is a lot of the like special rule, you know, with regards to the mission. So it's like if you're playing a tied mission, like or you guys are tied the whole time, like
nobody gets underdog, nobody gets spice.
Yeah. Which
is fine.
Yeah,
my overall opinion of the underdog being in the battle plan, I know some people were disappointed about it because like they kind of
they want to kill their opponents.
Well, they kind of like baited and switched it where it was like, oh yeah, the underdog gets like an extra command point. You're like, okay, whatever, that's fine. And then they're like, psych, actually you get, you know, to remove an objective or something like that. And like I was like, oh well, that's a lot of advantages. That's a big catch up mechanic. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What's two? They also get the command point too. You know what I mean? Like it's not like either or. It's in addition.
Yeah, exactly. So some people were like, "That's a little bit too much." I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We'll see. I think it's going to be like battle plan v battle plan.
Yeah. Again, we also talked about this. Like, I feel like because like again, this game is very complicated and like the interaction of the rules. We haven't seen any. We also haven't seen any like army indexes yet. But like, it's going to be very hard to tell what's broken until like we start pushing plastic at each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then we're like, oh yeah, the underdog is just better. Like he's just better to be losing.
There's definitely going to be like, I feel like there's going to be one that's overcooked and everyone's going to know that's the one that's overcooked. And then you submarine on that one so that you get the underdog thing.
You do it now. Like you do Nexus Collapse. You never deploy on
Nexus
objectives.
Collapse.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of, the Vice is kind of similar to Nexus Collapse. That's the next one they showed us. That's the one from 2021. The twist is so the objectives start off in all 4 corners, and then the twist is basically at round 2.
Is that round 2 and round 4 they move?
Yeah, it started at round 2, they move inward, and then in round 4 they reduce down to 1 objective, and it's only fighting for the center. And at the end of their turn, the underdog can pick 1 objective, inflict D3 mortal wounds or D3 mortal damage on each unit contesting that objective, roll separately for each.
Yep, okay. Not enemy units, every unit.
Every unit. So that's going to be one of those things where you don't want to put all of your units onto one specific objective because the guy who's losing will just be like, all right, that one, D3 mortal damage to that. Yeah.
I will say it's hyper cringe how they put this. Like this one is like super tiny with the 2 pages. Like how they physically put this in the article, like the physical page in the article.
Yeah, if you click on it, it brings it up.
Yeah, but like I get that, but like I just feel like it's nice to have like literally just above it you have
the big one.
Is it in the same resolution?
Yeah. I don't know. They did that with the other one. And I don't know why. I don't know if they're trying to save space or PNGs or whatever, but yeah, that's it. This is definitely going to be interesting. It's going to be annoying for anybody like us that have the objective mats because like we don't want to move them.
No.
And there's 9. There's 9, so it's not like you can even like set them up and just say which ones are active.
Yep.
So that's going to be annoying. But overall, I think it's interesting. It definitely like brings people into the middle.
Hopefully it's easier to move them around too because they're smaller. You know what I mean? Like they can
that's true.
Fit between. I mean, the only one that's going to suck is the second or the first move. Like when you get to the like quadrants, you know, because that's going to be like betwixt, you know, the medium or the area and obstacle terrain.
Yeah, and maybe that's why they showed it like side to side, because this might be on the back of the card potentially.
Oh,
But
maybe.
if you go over to the next one that they showed us, it's the same thing. So it's the same battle plan. It's Vice, Battle Plan 4 and Table 2. We know we're getting 12 of these guys, and they tell us 6 in this little image that they're showing us. So they say this map layout can also be used in Border War, Focal Points, Shifting Objectives, Jaws of Galette, and Battle for the Past. So these are all previous ones. So if you're curious what that looks like, you can go and look up at the old 2nd edition and previous seasons of the 3rd edition and see what battle plans those are.
Mm-hmm.
So they confirmed 6 of the 12. They also showed us, they showed us a terrain map that they suggest that people use for tournaments, and everybody's going to use it because it looks pretty bog standard and easy.
Yeah.
They also said that there will be rules for player place terrain if you want to do that. So, like, if you're playing a fun, friendly game where, like, it's a narrative of attacker and defender, you know what I mean? You can do that. The areas that we've shown, so we have the area terrain, which they give an example as like a hill or a storm vault, and the terrain abilities they say are cover. There's obstacles, which they say are ruins, debris, statues, barricades. Those terrain abilities are cover and unstable. Obscuring terrain, wildwood, fortress walls, cover, obscuring, and unstable. And then place of power, where they say like realm gate, cleansing, aquilith, nexus siphon, which I believe are all GW focused terrain.
Things I can buy on their website.
Yeah. And then the terrain abilities are cover, place of power, unstable.
Yeah.
They show us a nice little map. They show us like small and medium. So it looks like we're going to have 4 medium terrain pieces and 4 small terrain pieces, which is pretty similar to what we're playing with right now.
Yeah.
The big thing to talk about is obviously, what does cover mean? What does unstable mean? Obscuring, place of power. There's been a lot of speculation. I think cover is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. But I honestly, I'm a little concerned though, because if cover works the same way, I mean, we talked about this, outside the podcast, but like if cover works the same way that it does in 40K, right? And like you're in a season of trying to stop save stacking, just throwing this +1 to save keyword on every piece of terrain that exists.
Yeah. So if people aren't familiar how it works in 40K is basically if you have a unit. If Unit 1 is shooting at Unit 2, if every single model in Unit 1 cannot see every single model of Unit 2, Unit 2 will then get a cover save. And in that game, cover can only go to 3. You know what I mean? So you're never going to be like greater than 3.
Yeah.
So if you have a 3 up and you get cover, you're there. You're at 3.
Mm-hmm. It negates rend. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things where it's like extremely easy to get cover in 40K, which makes sense because 40K is a shooting game. I like you said, like it will increase saves, but only from shooting attacks.
That's
you
true.
don't typically get cover from melee, and it's a very melee centric game. Mm-hmm. So I don't think, my long strikes would be crying, right? Because their rend 2 doesn't really mean that much anymore, or the Gat Rat that we saw last episode. Or the Jezzails, but I don't mind that as much because I think that's healthier for the game.
Yes, I agree. And it's like, this may be another way that they're pulling the lever on,
shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of shooting, obscuring, again, 40K has a pretty good example of what obscuring does. So it's basically, you can't see through it. Which is something that they put on because a lot of the GW kits have open windows, and usually how line of sight works, and I think pretty much how it works in Age of Sigmar now is like, if my model can see through it, I can shoot it with no problem. Which becomes a big problem when it comes to high damage spells, high damage shooting, just seeing through. You can basically see through the whole board. So it's whether or not you're in the range. So with this obscuring, they'll give more things to hide behind, which I think will be important. And the last one is the one that matters is the place of power. So that'll probably be like your magical terrain that you have now. It'll
+1
probably
to cast,
or priest stuff. Yeah, I have no idea what it will be. That's the one that's the most up in the air. But it'll give you a benefit in some way, shape, or form. The other one is unstable, which I've seen a lot of people have takes on this. My take is basically it's just going to be you can't set a model on top of it.
Yep.
Because their 3rd has a lot of weird gaming interactions with setting things on top of things. And I know you've experienced that with people like moving incarnates around because they can fly technically. And you're like, all right, well, I'm going to pick a point and it's here on the side of this wall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my incarnate is technically there.
It's hard to play against. You know what I mean?
It's just like it's not intuitive. It's not an intuitive thing. So I'd rather they have something like this where they just say, hey, you can't put something on top of it. Everything kind of stays on like the same playing, like the 2D playing field on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to play the game much more like that than, the imaginary game of my orcs just charged up.
Over, and down.
Well, not even up, over, and down. Like I've had people put shooting units in like a pillar, right? Or like on top of a structure. And like there's no room for my models to sit up there. But how the game works is basically my guys can move and charge up that thing and then basically stay there. And they're just imaginarily there because that's the only way you can make that work.
Yeah.
So I want them to take like the 3-dimensional out of the game a little bit more and have us all kind of like be playing on the same field and the models just are where they are.
Agreed. Yeah.
So they showed us this one key and it's for 6. So I think it'd be a pretty easy guess to say that there's another terrain layout and that's for the other 6.
Yeah.
I think that would be a pretty easy guess.
It is nice that they're kind of like using a commonality between the game modes. So it's like, oh, okay, like when you're setting up the terrain, you're like, are we doing A or B? You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Table 1, table 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty hype because then it makes just setting up for like a tournament easy.
Oh, yeah.
Especially because they said they're going to tell in the terrain article at some point in time what small means as far as like a footprint and what medium means as a footprint. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Anything that makes the game like play easier and less like non-intuitively.
Yes.
They showed us the other massive thing they showed us in this article was the honor guard.
Seasonal
so
rule.
So this is our seasonal rule. And if this is the only seasonal rule, I'm pretty happy with that. I'd much rather them do seasons this way than the other way.
Paradise.
Well, like
Blizzard.
This season has like you have so many rules for the season, and a lot of them don't matter.
Yeah.
So,
until they do.
Until they do.
Until you're 12 inches away and you just get blizzarded.
You just get 17 mortal wounds to the face.
Mm-hmm.
So what honor guard is basically your army can use one of these abilities, and they said that there's going to be 3. So your honor guard is going to be a unit that is inside your general's regiment. And then at the start of the battle in the deployment phase, which is interesting, it's kind of like people are talking about it like a sideboard or like an audible, something that you get to choose after you see your opponent's army. So in the deployment phase, and I assume one person will pick it and then the other person will pick it, kind of like how we set down stuff. Pick a friendly unit in your general's regiment that is not your general to be the honor guard. You can pick a unit in reserve. Nice. If you use this ability, you cannot use any other honor guard abilities. Like I said, this is one of the 3. And then the effect is subtract 1 from the attacks characteristics of enemy units' melee weapons while they are in combat with your general. If both of the following are true, the honor guard is wholly within 6 of your general, and the honor guard did not charge this turn. So it's a defense. This is like there's 3 honor guard abilities. This is our defensive one, and people have guessed there's probably an offensive one.
Yeah,
which will probably be pretty popular. And there's probably a utility one
because it's kind of more hot.
Yeah, this is very much I'm relying on my opponent to fall into my defensive trap of engaging my general who potentially could have charged, but my honor guard did not charge, and my honor guard is now within my general, and now there's some my general gets some bonuses from a defensive buff from subtracting 1, which is kind of like what the dragons for Stormcast have.
Well, it's kind of nice too because like it's not just. I feel like -1 to hit.
There's ways to negate that.
There's ways to negate that. Exactly. You have control, right? But in addition, there's like, I feel like kind of attacking, like if you spread out the like buffs and debuffs to numbers, like evenly, like more homogeneously instead of just putting everything on the save characteristic, I feel like that feels better. You know what I mean? Because like, you're dropping more dice all the way through, which kind of sucks. But like, it's not like, oh, you get like 8 of your damage to attacks through, and then I have to roll 3-ups, and it's like, oh, I only take 4 damage.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and like it's definitely more impactful for things like Croxagores, you know what I mean, which have like a fewer attacks, like 4, you know what I mean, but like that reduces their damage heavily if it's like a 3 or if it's a 2 or 3 damage weapon, right? And you reduce the attack by 1 or trogs, that heavily reduces their 100%.
Output. Their output goes away, and it's like,
yeah.
and that's I think how you make it a little less killy.
Yeah,
without just being like save.
Yeah. So what's your overall thoughts of like this like Pokemon, like starter Pokemon choosing rule? This is the Squirtle, by the way. I was curious when I went and looked back at the original Pokemon stats. I believe Squirtle has the best defense, Bulbasaur has the best special, and Charmander has the best attack.
Yeah. I definitely think that this is like I like that this is simple. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of like what you were saying and what we've been saying this entire time is I feel like this edition is going to be like a boiled down version or like a leaner version of Sigmar, right? And I think we're getting rules that are interesting, a little less flavorful, a little less impactful, but it's easier to play a game, you know? And a 3-hour game, like, you know, I mean, like tournaments are, some people are built different when it comes to tournaments and like it doesn't affect them at all. I can tell you confidently that sometimes I come out of a tournament and it's just like by game 3, I'm like toast. You know?
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't know the rules. It's because like I'm just like
thinking the entire time. You're thinking at a high level the entire time and making choices.
And it's micro choices, right? Like we're taking micro choices out of the game. So it's like, oh, okay, like this as like a realm rule. Like I don't have to think about Andorian Focus anymore. I don't have to think about Primal Dice. I don't have to think about Merciless Blizzard in the gun. You know what I mean?
Have to think about the specific regiment that only came in this season.
Yeah,
like there's Hunter Battalion.
There's like 6. There's 6 things that like I don't have to worry about now because it's just like there's like 1 defensive buff, and it's like, and it's very clearly the people that are in his general. Like he's like, hey, this is my general, and like this is that regiment because he puts them down at the same time because that's how it works now because it's nice and simple. I'm like, oh, okay, well if he's like with them, he gets a defensive buff. He could potentially get a defensive buff, you know.
Yeah.
So it's again, some people I understand and empathize with the argument that this takes flavor out of the game, but I think it takes I think it's a nice base. Like I think like this is a nice like okay, like we're writing a lot of the rules over again. They're very similar, but we're writing a lot of the rules over again. This is our first special rule. Let's make it very simple. You know what I mean? And then they can kind of like sounding board it where it's like when the games start happening, they're like, okay, we need a little more flavor. We need a little more technical skill. It feels a little too vanilla. Next season, we'll flip it, you know?
Yeah. You can always add sprinkles.
100%. Can't take them away.
Yeah. Taking away things is harder, but I appreciate the honor guard ability. Again, like, I don't think they're going to add anything else on top of the seasonal rules for this specifically.
No, I don't think I think for this season we're getting the different variants.
The 3 Pokemon.
Exactly that. I'm just saying like when inevitably like I think that these were written intentionally to be simple because like the current season is complicated as hell, you know.
And it's when we talk about battle tactics, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that, but this is definitely like the final season of the edition. So they kind of like took everything and like just cranked it up to 11 and we're like, all right, have fun, you know. So fun. Blizzard, fun and balanced
spell.
Fun and balanced spell.
It's fun when you do it. It's not fun when the other guy does it.
But I like the bodyguard. I think or the honor guard. I like the honor guard concept. I think that's a very simple seasonal rule.
Yeah, it has impact. It feels good. You know what I mean? Like,
but it doesn't
but it's not broken. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it doesn't like over. They say that people say this a lot when they're talking about painting terrain. Is you want it to look good, but you never want it to look better than the models that you're putting near it. You know what I mean? So you always want it to be like a shade simpler, right?
Yes.
And I want the seasonal rules to be simpler than like my faction rules, my faction war scrolls, like that kind of thing. I want them to like be a little like the sprinkles. I don't want them to be like a syrup or bananas
or the ice
like
cream.
another ice cream that I have to like put on top of this thing. So
like these things are supposed to be supporting pieces.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. They also, in the paragraph below that, they talked about the General's Handbook 2024-2025.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a card format, which is something that we were like, I know I was on the fence about. I was like, I feel like they're going to give us cards. They're definitely going to give us cards.
Yeah.
But I was like, they keep calling it a book.
GHB. Yeah.
A GHB. So I'm like, that's got to be a book in some way, shape, or form. But no, it's cards. It is coming in the launch box. And it's featuring the season rules. So you're probably, I mean, crazy. This honor guard looks like it could fit perfectly on a card.
On a tarot card.
On a tarot card that you'll probably have. So you'll get that. You'll get the battle tactics, which we'll talk about next, which is nice. That I like them on a card. Yeah. I don't like them on the little cardboard things that I have to flip over to see both of them.
It's
also nice because, like, once you're done with it, you can just put it to the side and be like, these are the only battle tactics that I have available.
Yeah.
The battle plans, what fits perfectly on these cards, and then a scoring card in a handy format. So I'd rather them just give me a PDF that I can print out multiple times and use for that. But sure, we'll put a scoring or an app. Sure, we'll put a scoring card in the.
I'll definitely write on that card, and I definitely won't just leave it in the box forever.
Yeah, but if you don't want to get the if you don't want to get the launch box, don't worry. They're going to do a standalone release version, which will come with all of that. And then, like, I've saw some people being like, well, hey, I don't want, like, this is coming with the core rules, the advanced rules, the latest rules for endless spells, and tournament organizer pack for the event organizers. And people were like, well, that's going to feel bad when I go into the book and, like, it doesn't have all this stuff. I'm going to have to buy it again. I'm like, no, the core rules, advanced rules, and, like, endless spell stuff, that's probably going to come in your, like, the big core book.
Yeah.
That comes... The big core book that comes in your box. You know what I mean? So, like, you'll have core rules, advanced rules, all that kind of stuff. You'll just get your, like, as well, you'll get a card pack the same way that Leviathan people got their Leviathan book.
Yeah.
So I think you'll get everything regardless. You might just not use that book because it's really heavy.
It's thick.
It's so thick. I literally took that. I think I take that to the store when I'm doing my
PTG.
Yeah, when I'm doing my Path of Glory, because it has all the campaign rules in there.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm never going to take that to a tournament.
No, definitely not.
Massive. So let me just review my notes and see if I missed anything. Oh, the twists. So, like, the twists are not really new. The twists basically are just, like, something happens, whether objectives moves or whatever. And then there's the underdog mechanic where
and they've done twists in other game modules too. You know,
I think, like, every single plan that we have in our GHB has some kind of twist.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, even, like, I remember in Warcry, like, when you're picking the whatever it's called, like, you're picking.
Don't talk to me about those twists, dude. I hate those twists.
I know, but I'm saying is like it's and I'm not saying it's the same, but I'm saying that, like, this formula that we're seeing is similar to what, like, other things they've tried.
Yeah. I think it's basically just I'm glad they're doing this because it's a way of putting the underdog mechanic and, like, the weird thing, I guess, about how that specific battle plan will work all in one little thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, previously they would have, this is how you score points. It's also weird. This is how the objectives move. It's also weird.
Yeah.
And then, like, you're like the meltwater. You know what I mean? Like, terrible. I just want to make the twist in, like, the underdog mechanic and something simple.
Yeah.
Don't make it meltwater.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to get that. I've reviewed the ones that they showed us, the 6 that they showed on that terrain map, and they're relatively simple.
Yeah.
So
it's very, like, again, they're trying to, like, make it smooth. You know what I mean?
Make it smooth.
Make it all smooth, and we'll go from there, you know?
Yep. 100%. But I think that's all my notes for that specific article. Well, would you want to start walking us through the battle tactics article?
I do.
That dropped today.
I do.
That's the one that we've been waiting for this whole time.
Hot. We got Gat Rat this week. We got Battle Plans this week. We got Battle Tactics this week, right? Exactly what they promised us, but it took way too long, and they should have given it all on Monday. Because I am impatient.
Got to stretch out that content.
Yeah, I got to give it that content. Okay, so, so we got our Battle Tactics today. Me and Kyle have talked about this slightly beforehand, but it is a little bit leaner than the, than the Battle Plans drop. But they did confirm that you're even like selecting a battle tactic is now an ability that you have to choose.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of overkill, but
yeah.
I do appreciate that they're staying consistent with the core gridlock of the system that they
everything
built.
is an ability, and
Everything's an ability.
I mean, it honestly concerns me slightly because it means I feel like
potentially react to it.
Yeah, you could potentially either react to it or interrupt it. You know, depending on like your rules. You know.
Yeah.
Because there's
God, I hope not. That sucked.
I can't remember what the there's a character now in the game, it's a death character, where you get to change. They have an ability where like once per game you can change your battle tactic at the end of the turn. Like if you didn't do
battle tactic,
yes, you can choose. You can change your own. Like if let's say I picked like let into the maelstrom, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't do it. I accidentally killed my opponent that I was charging into. But then I look at the board and I'm like, oh, but I'm doing intimidate. Like I can change mine to intimidate.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. That is one of those like game spaces that is physically possible, especially with this. But can you imagine just getting like, I'm going to declare my battle tactic, and then like I counterspell it.
I counterspell your battle tactic. You don't get to score points.
You don't get to score points.
4 points, a crippling amount of points.
A crippling amount of points.
I will say though that they did make again like they didn't. I'll just read the thing, right? So once per battle round, you can use this thing called Tactical Gambit, right? You cannot use this ability if you went second in the previous battle round and chose to go first in the current battle round, right? Effectively the double turn.
Yep.
The effect is you pick one battle tactic that you have not yet attempted, and you can attempt to complete this battle tactic this turn and then subsequently score points for it, right? They did make so the asterisk isn't on the actual ability of Tactical Gambit, but they did make the asterisks that if you are if your opponent chooses for you to double, you can still go for a battle tactic because it puts that like you have to have chosen to go first. You know,
yeah, they just clear that up, which I feel like when they said like you only lose the ability to score a battle tactic if you choose. I'm like, okay, rules is written like that makes it seem like you can't force your opponent to do it. And they just confirmed that.
And they put it in, they just gave us the rule. You know what I mean? Like essentially, like I think a lot of these like little like PNGs, like these pictures we're getting are just going to be cards. Like it's like, this is what we're getting. So we get our first look at battle tactics, right? So we get essentially, they told us that we're going to get 6 universal battle tactics, right? Of which they gave us 3. And then we're no longer getting, again, in this season, as you mentioned before, we don't have faction-specific battle tactics anymore. We have like Grand Alliance battle tactics. And in each Grand Alliance, there's 2, right? So we get 1 from each of those. So just to go over quickly, the battle tactics we got are Seize the Center, which is essentially I'm going to blah blah blah. And
we don't have to go through it quickly. I think this is. I mean, there's not much. There's not much else. Yeah, there's not much else to talk about in this article. We might as well talk about them because these are the thing that matter.
Universal battle tactics, right? So the 3 that we got are Seize the Center, which is a very simple one, and I've seen this in like matched play tournaments that aren't GHB.
Yep.
Right.
This is in those like there's like in the match play rules for Age of Sigmar 3. If you did not want to play with a GHB, there are 6 that you can choose from. They're all very simple. This is one of them. Yeah. So you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if 2 or more friendly units are within 3 inches of the center of the battlefield and are not in combat. Right. So obviously not wholly within because it's 3 inches, but very easy to complete. Not any army in the game can really do this. Like there is counterplay, right? And of the 3 that we've received in the universal, I think this has the most counterplay because of, countercharge. In addition, just putting, if you put a single model dead center at the center of the board, they can't complete the battle tactic until it's gone because it's 3 inches. You have to be within 3 inches. And if you're within 3 inches, you're within combat range, you know? If you put a model with a 40mm base or multiple models with smaller in the middle, they can't get there without killing it.
No, I mean, even if you had like a 0 minute, like it's like if you are touching the middle.
Oh yeah, fair.
You can't.
No. Yeah. You're right.
It's 3 inch range.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. Okay, crap. I was thinking, I'll just get another. I'll get another objective marker and I'll plop it in the middle and we'll know. But you're right. That's not how that works.
0 point.
It's 3 from the center it's 3 instead of 3 from the 40mm objective.
Yeah,
I get where you're doing this. GW, but that is an annoying distinction that I'm going to have to explain to opponents now. Every time I'm going to be like, they're going to be like, oh, I'm just going to put my extra objective. And I'm like, it's actually smaller than that.
It's small.
It's actually 20 millimeters smaller on either side. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. But it is important. It's very important because it's like, it just basically means that you're controlling the center of the board, right? Exactly what it says. But there's this one specifically, there's 6 different ways to counter this one, right? Like 1, you can just be standing in the middle of the board. 2, you can shoot one of the 2 units that are standing. Like, you know what I mean? If he removes the models and he's no longer in the in the center by the end of the turn, it's gone. You can countercharge it because you're now like, you know, whatever you put in the center is like up on a pedestal ready to get hit, you know? There's a lot of ways to stop this one, even though it seems really simple with like the tools that they've been able to power through. Another great one.
Yep, that's at the end of the turn, and if you're picking a battle tactic, you're the active player, which means they get to do it last. So all they have to do is just power through into combat.
Yeah. In addition, you don't need to kill anything, right? Like if you engage one of those 2 units, right, they can't complete the battle tactic. You know, you can countercharge in, put everyone on one side so that only like one person can fight back in to you. Mm-hmm. They can't complete the battle tactic. So lots of counterplay, even though it seems very simple. That we have because of the tools we've been given and what we've seen, it's not as easy as you might think.
I did say that this is like, oh, it's exactly what we had for like the non-GHB match play, but it's not, because now we're living in a world where doing things on your opponent's turn exists.
Oh yeah, so spells, shooting, charging,
bam, bam, bam. Just spend all 4 of your command points and just like
blowing them up.
Nope, you don't.
Yeah. This also, I mean. There's also like, it's important to note there's only 6, right? There's only 6 universal battle tactics, right? So you have like way less options. So it's like that's
awesome.
It is awesome, but the choice, right? Like they're trying to de-incentivize the double, right? Like that's the whole intent. And
speaking of, they mentioned, I went back and counted because I'm like, damn, they mentioned this a lot. In this article, they mentioned like how important like the double is going to be 3 times in this article. Mm-hmm. I'm like, we get it. You don't want us to do the thing because we want to score battle tactics. That's how we win the game. I understand.
What I will say is, if you have less options and like you're like, I can potentially score a battle tactic, but it's risky. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It might be worth it to take the double. You know what I mean? Like if you're not going to get the battle tactic anyway.
Yeah, it's true. If you're put into a box where, I mean, there are legitimately, I've had games this like past weekend where like, I have the turn and I legitimately don't have a battle tactic I can do because I have units like Storm Drakes that have like, okay, well they can do these ones, Redeemers can do these ones, you know what I mean? And
like
nobody can do those. I'm not in position to do them. So yeah, I guess that if you can't do it anyway, you might as well
double, might as well capitalize.
Punish your opponent and then get in there.
Yeah. So okay, next battle tactic, right? So take the flanks, right? Also a very simple one. It's a simpler version of one we currently have, you know?
Yep.
So you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if at least one friendly unit within 6 inches of each short edge, and none of those units are wholly within friendly territory, and none of those units were set up this turn. So right, so you can't drop in and do it, you know, but you basically have to like go out and then touch the edges, you know?
Yeah. Of all the battle tactics to talk about, I think this is the one that's the most important to talk about for multiple reasons. One, someone mentioned online, the Hand of Gork. The way that it's worded currently, it says set it up. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't Hand of Gork these guys over. 2, they have to be on the short. This is the thing that I was like, this is going to be important later. The short edge of the battlefield. So at some point in time in the book, they're going to have to define what is the short edge of the battlefield. Mm-hmm. I know it, you know it, you know what I mean, but they got to put it in text somewhere.
44 inches.
But if you look at the battle plan, right? If you look at the battle plans they showed us, and you look at any of the battle plans that we have in our book, you physically can't do that if they decide to do deployment on the short edge. So look at the 2 battle plans.
You physically cannot do that which means that there's no more short edge deployment.
You are not going to be able to deploy on your short edge, or they just say you're not going to be able to do this one on that mission, which I
feel like that'd be so stupid. Like that would be so stupid, especially because there's only 6 universal. Like it's like it's one of the 6. Like usually we get like 8, you know, and then 6 of your own, you know. So it's like you have 14 potential. Right now you're only going to have 8. We literally have like half. you know?
Yeah. In the wrap up, I'll kind of give my spiel on battle tactics because I've gone on the record of saying I don't like battle tactics, right?
Yes.
And I was disappointed that they're bringing them back.
Yes, 100%.
I will say positives is I don't have to worry about the 8 core ones, and I just looked up. You're right. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At Stormcast have 7 other ones, and most of the 7 are like only if you build your army specific ways.
Yeah, it's like it calls specific units, it calls specific situations. Gits have 6, I think, or it's like similar. You know, it's one of those like it's nice that they're like distilling it down. So it's like there's no requirement on the way in, right? And there's no like there's only like end conditions that it's requiring. You know,
yeah. It's play with the models that you have currently on the board. Not I brought these guys to do specific things.
Yeah, you need a Spanish speaker.
Literally, because I have like kill like one of my things is kill a hero with a Redeemer unit. You know how many times I've had that happen once?
Yeah.
When one of your little goblins you sent to try to kill, like he tried to cast Blizzard, it didn't work, and then he was like
out in the
8 inches away from one of my Liberator units. And I was like, sure, why not? And it almost didn't work because he made some ward saves. So that was the big thing where I'm like, they basically soft confirmed that we're always going to be deploying on the long edge of the board.
Yes.
They also, like you said, this is very similar to
Surround and Destroy.
Surround and Destroy. However, unlike Surround and Destroy, you don't have to pick the units that you're doing this
beforehand.
With and declare it.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. I think that helps out a lot because you can't just be like, all right, these are the 2 that are important. And someone's like, cool, countercharge and shoot
it is kind of nice.
Spell. And they just have to be within. They don't even say wholly within. They just say within 6 inches of the short end of the battlefield.
Yeah, so you just got to be touching.
Outside of your deployment, which is pretty hype. That, again, is a lot less asterisks on that.
Yeah.
It's just...
And it's also nice because then you can like get back to the middle of the board if it's not a fast unit, you know?
Yeah. And like... I think from what we've seen, I'm expecting the majority of the terrain or your territory to be 50% of the board.
Yes.
So it's going to be pretty consistent on where you have to put your guys.
Yeah. This can also be like a turn 1, you know?
Yeah.
But you have, you know, unless your opponent is standing there waiting to do it too. You know what I mean? Because you're gonna run into each other.
That would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
Especially with like the 2 fast units. It reminds me of the scene from The Lion, the Witch of Wardrobe with the battle, where it's like they're charging at each other, and then like as they get closer and closer, they're like leopards and tigers and cheetahs like all get faster and faster and faster, and they like collide first because they're like the fastest units in each army.
That's so cool. Yeah, it is. It's one of those like you see that the vanguard or whatever you want to call them, like the fastest ones get there first.
Yeah, because we're assuming because they said your territory is 50% of the board. I'm assuming that you have to set up 9 inches away from your enemy territory, kind of how it works now.
Yes,
which would mean you would need something that moves 9. Or like, you know, whatever I don't know, I'm not good at math, right? But you'd have to be able to like pay the command point to get them over if you wanted to do it turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, if they move 10, you can do it turn 1 because it's within and not wholly within, right? So it's basically like
it does say wholly within friendly territory,
not wholly within.
Yeah, none of these units are wholly within friendly territory.
Yeah, so if they're not wholly within friendly territory, that like if their toe is out, they're not wholly
within.
Within.
Yeah, that is how wholly within works.
Yeah,
because I thought it was wholly within enemy territory.
No,
that's incorrect.
It's not wholly within.
Very important distinction.
Yes. It's toe.
Yep, that's actually huge.
Yeah,
that's a
10-inch
really
move. You can do it turn 1.
It's a really without spending any command points.
Yes,
that is a really good thing to do. That's a really good point to make. I missed that until this point.
Yeah. And then
that's why I was like, this is the one that we can talk about because there's a lot of words.
There are a lot of words. There's a lot. I mean, again, there's like we've talked about 2 of these battle tactics. We've already talked about counterplay. Like, you know.
Yeah, true.
And these are simple. Like these are drastically simpler than the ones we currently have.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's kind of the theme of the edition, in my opinion, is they're making like the physical thing that you're doing very simple.
Yes.
But now the choice is more complicated because of everything else that's happening around the choice. I don't need these to be overly complicated the way that we have them now for them to be like a complicated choice to make.
Yes. But you have to understand that there's more, your opponent has more play in your turn. So it's like you have to mitigate risk more than you did before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So which honestly I think might be more complicated.
I think it will. Like, there's going to be a lot more. It's going to be very chess-like, where they move a piece, and you're sitting there being like, all right, what do I do now that this piece is in this position?
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay, next one. I'm going to move that down. So you go to Slay the Entourage, right? Very simple. Love this battle tactic. You basically are like, because everything goes down in a regiment, it's very clear what's in your general's regiment, right? You pick a unit, you pick an enemy, you pick a unit in the enemy general's regiment. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed this turn, right? So easy. Your generals or your opponent's general goes down, everything in the regiment goes down at the same time. You're like, all right, anything that just went down is on the docket or is on the to-do list for that battle tactic. Very simple, very easy.
The thing, and like, if it depends on which Pokemon you picked, right? But this could be potentially harder to do if they chose the bodyguard.
Yeah,
because it's not
Squirtle.
Yeah, it's not subtract, or so it is subtract 1 from the attacks characteristics of enemy units' melee weapons while they are in combat with your general. If both are true, the honor guard didn't charge, and the honor guard is wholly within 6 of your general. So if your general and your honor guard are standing right next to each other, this is much more difficult for the enemy to do if they're only sending a melee boy at that one of those 2 targets.
Yeah,
because they're reducing their attacks by 1.
It's true.
I saw a little bit of discourse online about this where they were like, oh, what if you don't put any units in your regiment, but your general has to be in your regiment? You can't take your general can't be an aux unit. You know what I mean? So like, if they don't put anybody in their regiment, 1, they're losing their honor guard ability, and 2, you just got to kill a general.
Yeah, which you want to do anyway.
Which, you kind of want to do anyway. So it changes it from just kill a unit to kill the general.
Yeah.
But they lose the honor guard. Which
and you're also you're upping your drops,
Also true.
But yeah, so those are the 3 that we got. Again, very simple. They're complicated because of the other rules we have, which, it's nice. It's not getting more complicated. But then we get 4 of the Grand Alliance. So we get 1 from each Grand Alliance. We have 1 Grand Alliance battle tactic each from each of the 4, and they're going to get 2. Sorry, the numbers are confusing me right now. Exactly. I was like, there's no way for me to save this sentence where it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, I know what I'm saying, but I'm like, 1, 2, 4, 1, 4, 2, 4, 1.
Okay.
So each Grand Alliance
will get
of
2.
which there are 4 gets 2 battle tactics, right?
Yeah.
Specifically tied to your Grand Alliance.
Order gets 2.
Order gets 2. Death gets 2. Chaos gets 2. Destruction gets 2, right? Sorry.
You're good.
Long week.
It is Friday.
So
thanks, Sigma.
Thanks, Sigma, dude. Thanks, Sigma. We got battle tactics on Friday.
I know.
So just to walk through them, right? Kyle, very, very familiar with the Order one because it was designed for Stormcast.
Yep.
So reclaim the realms, right? You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn. If there are 1 or more friendly units wholly within each quarter of the battlefield, 6 inches away from all enemy units.
Yep, and more than 6 inches away from all enemy units.
Yeah.
That's basically the pity Stormcast one that they gave us, which is like secure the battlefield.
Mm-hmm. Wholly within. Honey? Wholly within.
Wholly within each quarter. That's what it is now. But it's important they don't say you can't set up a unit this turn. So like, I have basically just been running 2 chaff units that I drop from the sky. They secure the battlefield, and ideally they're in a position like in the back section of the board, right? And then that's my battle tactic. Turn 1 is reclaim the realms, and my guys that I drop out of the sky are on the border edge. And then if they don't kill those 2 units, I automatically get
Surround and Destroy. Or whatever.
Surround and Destroy, or like take their flanks. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because now they set up last turn, not this turn.
Yeah.
So they're already in position. So that forces my opponent to do something about those 2 units, which means they're not coming at me, which means I get to shoot long strikes longer.
I get to shoot him in the face more.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think that there's going to be a lot of like, my only problem with stuff like this, right? So I actually really like that they've kind of like backed off the faction battle tactics and they put it in the Grand Alliance.
God, yes.
But I will say, to the point that you just made, right? Like, you have rules like that let you do this much
Help me do
easier.
this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like again, I'm not as familiar with like Ideneth and Lumineth and stuff like that. But like I don't know if they have like a teleport that's fairly easy. You know, to like
Yeah.
because like it's you essentially have like this ambush mechanic of falling from the sky baked into your faction rules, right? Like
Yeah.
if they don't have something similar or like maybe like a movement mechanic or you can give units fly for a turn or something like that where it's easier to get into those corners, like it's not an easy tactic for some factions, you know.
Yeah.
It's not a terribly hard tactic. Again, it's
No.
standing there, like you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty easy turn one if you go first. Granted, like,
and people aren't
again,
on the line, you know.
Yeah, you're deploying on the line, and
or enemies aren't on the line. Like if enemies are within 6 inches, you can't get it.
True, but ideally they're 9 away.
True.
It's possible.
Countercharge.
Yeah, you're gonna get. Yeah, that's the other thing is like, again, you don't have to pick which ones. You just have to have them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they can be like, oh, you pick 2, I'm gonna kill one of them.
Yeah, I almost want to go second just because then I don't have to think about countercharge.
I get the countercharge. Yeah. This gets like much harder with countercharge. All of these get harder with countercharge. That's kind of the meme in the community right now, where it's like as soon as someone says something, someone just slaps the countercharge button and be like, "But interactivity because countercharge, right?"
It definitely makes everything spicier.
It definitely makes everything not a guarantee. Right now, basically how battle tactics work is I just move my stuff, and then potentially you could redeploy and like make it not do the thing that I want to do, but 99% of the time, I'm going to move my stuff. I'm going to get my points.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, now you can hit the things that just got me points if you want to.
Fine, kill my birds. I don't care.
Fine, kill my birds. But now there's a lot of ways that you can stop the points. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. So next one, ordained charge, right? Pick an objective controlled by an opponent. You can you complete this battle tactic at the end of the turn if 2 or more friendly units charge this turn and 1 or more of those units are contesting the objective and you control that objective. So this is a gets battle tactic, dude. Like this is something that I usually get. Like,
oh really?
Yeah. Well, there's like Moonlight Raid is like very similar to this, except I don't have to pick 2 units. I just have to. Or I think I can't remember if I picked 2 units. I always read it before, but it's like you pick basically you have a guy in the light of the bad moon that like takes over an objective that your enemy owned at the beginning of this turn, right?
I definitely like this because one, it doesn't say they have to stay in combat. They can just kill the thing they're charging.
Yes.
It only requires one of them to be contesting the objective.
Yes.
You have to control the objective. So there's no like asterisks of you have to kill all the enemies on it.
No, it's very freeing. Very freeing.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And it's also chaosy. You know what I mean? Just charge your stuff in and
get in there.
On the objective. Do the thing you probably already want to do, which is get on like take an enemy off the objective, which is awesome. I love it. That something that the 3 that they showed us, of the 3 that are universal, 2 of them are non-interactive with your opponent. You know what I mean? You can, unless like your opponent decides to get spicy. The Reclaim the Realms, also not interactive with your opponent. The other 3 that we're talking about, including Ordained Charge, very interactive with your opponent.
Oh yeah, highly. The Destruction one arguably is too interactive with your opponent, but we'll get there. The Death one is marked for the grave. Pick a non-hero enemy unit that has not had any models slain from it, right? So this is the first one I'm seeing that has like an asterisk on the way in, you know? Like it doesn't qualify unless it does this. If there are no non-hero enemy units on the battlefield, you can pick any enemy unit, right? So that's good for Sons of Behemoth. You know what I mean? They have like all of their Mega Gargants,
all their heroes.
Yeah. You complete this battle tactic if at the end of your turn, if that unit is destroyed this turn, right? So it's honestly kill that thing. Pick the thing that fits into this list and kill it. If you do,
perfect
points for you. Easy,
very easy. Run into a chaff unit and kill it.
Yep, 100%. Or finish off a hero or finish off a monster. Like easy. The one that sucks.
Go
ahead.
The mark for the grave is like you can't just pick like, oh, he has 1 model left in that unit. It has to be like a full health unit.
Yes, exactly. You can't finish something off. It has to be like a monster that's on low health. You know what I mean? Like, right? Like it's
because it says model slain. It doesn't say health produced.
Yeah. So it's like a low monster or a low. You know, you can't pick a hero, but you can't just be like, oh, there's 1 bird left in that the ring squad.
Yeah. The big thing for this, I've seen a lot of ebb and flow about whether the game is wanting you to take reinforced units versus MSU, right? So like the time to get stuck in one kind of wants you to do MSU, where the mark for the grave, the way to like get around that is to have all your units reinforced so they can't just like finish it off.
Yeah,
Also, the regiment
harder.
system,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like the regiment system definitely wants you to have
no MSU.
Reinforced units.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like fewer drops is fewer, like fewer units is fewer drops, you know?
Yeah. So it's going to be like looking at all this is like when it says like, hey, do things with 2 units, you know what I mean? Like because of the drop system, you might have reinforced units, you know? So
it's going to be harder to do.
It's going to be interesting, definitely. So it talked about the one that you want to talk about.
Yeah, it's the bad one.
The bad one.
So this one gets time to get stuck in, right? Is the Destruction Grand Alliance specific battle tactic we were given. Pick 3 friendly units that are not in combat and are wholly within your friendly territory. Not just 1, but 2 you pick on the way in. You know? You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if those chosen units are wholly outside of your territory and use the fight ability this turn.
Yeah, there's so many asterisks on these.
Yeah.
Like this was, like you said before when we talked, this was written for Ironjaws, and everyone else is kind of like, maybe.
I might. There may be a situation I do this because not only do I need to have everything fight, right? So I can't kill. Like, if I charge 2 of the 3 units into one thing, the first one that fights can't kill it. Because if the first one that fights kills it, then I can't fight again. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or if they kill you.
Or if they kill me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They kill my thing, I can't do it either.
So it's like you can't just... if you probably want to send 3 units at 3 separate units to make sure that they fight.
Yeah, but that's not what you want to do in this game. We're alternating activations. I'm getting hit, baby.
I know. So, like, if you send Spider Riders, I mean, even into Vindictors, there's a chance that
they just get wiped.
You charged me, and now I fight first on a 4-up and -2 rend. I just killed your Spider Riders. And you're like, oh,
that was fun.
I guess that my battle tactic didn't work.
Yep.
Because it's
maybe it's different. Maybe the game is a little less killy. Again, I'd be I agree. I have high apprehension of this and how good it is. But I think that there could be a way that it's not terrible. It's definitely bad. Like it's not like of these, like if you're going to rank them, like all of them are like a category, like a letter grade above this one.
Yeah, this is definitely in the D or F tier, where everything else is in like high B, A. I do think that they, like we said, there's 2 for each Grand Alliance. I think all the ones that we see for Death, Order, and Chaos are the good ones. I think the Destruction, they decided to show us the bad one.
Yeah. Dude, I can't even.
Like,
dude, that's terrible.
It's so bad for Gargants.
Yeah. You have to pick 3 units. No, but the issue is you have to be wholly within your territory.
Yeah.
All 3. And then you have to be wholly within theirs.
You do get to move.
Yeah.
So, like, you pick them.
You better, because that's the only way to do it.
Yeah. Scrolling up to the tactical gambit action or tactical gambit ability. You know what I mean? This happens at the start of or once per battle round at the start of your turn. So like you guys can be on the line, but they can't be in combat. So you kind of have to do this turn 1 where you're on the line, you move up, you charge, you know.
But then I have to end wholly within theirs. Like if they have people on line, like I guess that they could redeploy.
Well, like they're I think I'm maybe not all of them, but I say the majority of the maps are going to be what we've seen, where the territory is just the halfway point. It's just the 50-yard line.
This is just basically asking you like if you have an Alpha Strike army, you just do this turn 1.
Do the Alpha, exactly. Do the Alpha Strike, get stuck in, fight with everything, and then be in their board.
But don't be confused, Destruction players, as I am one of those. It is terrible.
Don't do it.
But yeah, that's all of them. That's 50% of the 50% of the battle tactics we're getting. We're not getting any grand strats. So
thank God.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're showing us as much. They showed us literally half of the battle tactics. They showed us literally half of the battle plans because they named them, and they showed us literally what I think half of the terrain layouts. I think there might be more terrain layouts, but I think they're going to be like these are the 2.
Yeah,
that
I think those are the tournament ones. Like it's
those
like this is what every TO is going to run because it's easy. You know.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. So James, battle tactic enjoyer. What do you think?
After
we've seen everything for the GHB, what's your thoughts?
So we have had some discourse online. We had a fight at the Target again.
I wouldn't say it's a fight at the Target. It was more a couple's disagreement
in the parking lot.
In the parking lot, not as public, not as throwing fists.
Yes, but. Exactly. I would say that I never thought we weren't getting battle tactics. Like I thought I'm surprised there are so many people that didn't think we were getting battle tactics. I think when it comes to battle tactics, these are far better, like far and away a better system than we currently have. So I'm happy. Like I got everything I wanted for Christmas. You know what I mean? Like I'm good. Yeah. Like I get that there's a better way to do this, right? And like there is definitely a situation. This isn't perfect, right? Like there's like if I got to pick everything, it would look different, you know? Mm-hmm. But this is I think it's like an empirical change for the good, like a empirical and notable change for the good for the game, right?
I agree.
And so I'm happy with the change. But Kyle, how about you as a science denier?
As a flat battle plan enjoyer. Okay, so starting with the good, I do think this is definitely, it feels like a step in the right direction, right? It feels like one step in the right direction where it's like they reduce the number of battle tactics. So instead of having to keep all 14 in front of you the entire time of the game, even though if you don't have, there's no way that you're ever going to do them, you can still have to remember them because maybe you do. Yeah. You know what I mean? I like that. I like that they're simpler because it makes it easier to understand what you're doing. I don't think it's better that they're simpler to do, but I do think it's better for just general understanding of what you and your opponent can do in this case. I like that they're a lot more interactive because countercharge, unleash spell, and
spell. That's so good.
Unleash spell and covering fire exists, so there's ways that you can limit, like when your opponent's trying to do something, there's ways that you can stop them instead of just I move my birds over here and then I score my 2 points. I think that might be all of the positive things. Again, I've gone on record. You can go back to the previous podcast when we were doing our predictions. When they said battle tactics by name, I was like, please tell me that you're just saying battle tactic is the placeholder for what you're saying as a secondary, because I don't want to do the battle tactic specific system. Like I said, I like that they're simpler, right? And it's not necessarily that they're simpler, but I feel like a lot of from what we've seen, a lot of I'm doing this because it's a battle tactic is reduced. So like the charge a battle line unit with a hero and have that thing and have the enemy live and stay in combat with at least one of them. I hated that. Because like that makes me led in the maelstrom. That makes me do a thing that doesn't make sense tactically and doesn't make sense battle wise and doesn't make sense like lore wise.
Yeah.
Exactly, narrative wise. So it's like the only reason I'm doing this is to get 2 points. You know? And there's like that is reduced. There's a lot more like interactivity with your opponent. There's a lot more like positioning and setting up, which is like simpler. So I do like that. But overall, I'm not a big battle tactic fan. I think there are other like even GW games that do it better. Not necessarily 40K, but I think like I'd rather have the secondary be printed on the battle plan, or I'd rather have something like Kill Team where you choose 3 of the things that you're going to do before the game and then you just do them as you go through the game. I don't necessarily love okay, it's my turn, look at board, what can I do? I do that thing, or hey, I built my list so I can do this on turn 1, this on turn 2, this on turn 3. Like when I saw Reclaim the Realms, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I get 4 free points and then I like have to take their flanks and I'm like, oh, that's cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Reclaim the Realms on turn 1. If those units live, I'm going to do take the flanks, and then basically that I don't have to think for first 2 turns if my opponent doesn't stop me from doing it. They very much can this time. You know what I mean? It's not a gimme, or like in the tournament that we just went to, it was kind of a gimme. You know, now they have the potential to interact with it, so we'll see. But yeah, overall, I'm not a big battle tactic enjoyer. and I'm sad to see them come back. But that doesn't reduce my love for the game and excitement for fourth as much. It just means, okay, cool. This is the type of game we're gonna do. All right, I can get over that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. I understand the frustration. It's a you know. Could it be better? Yeah. You know what I mean? Is it worse? Definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah. And I don't want the 40K system where you draw. I thought I wanted that initially, and then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, it feels real bad to lose because you drew shitty cards.
Be like that sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Lemons out of lemonade, baby.
You lose like a 30 to 40 minute Magic game because you drew poorly, whatever. But if you lose like a 3-hour game because you drew shitty, that feels kind of bad.
True. These aren't terribly complicated battle tactics, though. Like, if you got battle tactics like this, it's much easier to do. And also, 40K gives you like 3. Like, you have 3 in your bank. You know?
And there's ways to like rotate them in and rotate them out, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the thing that I was like, I believe the majority of the community dislikes battle tactics. And I think them coming back was a strange choice when you had the freedom to do anything.
Listen, I'm just happy that we're not. I'm just happy the boat's not sinking anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. We're not out of the woods yet, but like, it's better. Yeah. We got a pizza party at work. We got a pizza party.
Pizza party at work. Oh my god. I do think like everything we've seen before this I've been positive. I've been a simp for. You know what I mean? This is the first thing that I'm like, and I think a lot of people like Heywo has a stream set for tonight that is like, tonight I review the first bad decision Fourth has made yet, you know? And it's just like, yeah, another 3 years of like kind of doing non-interactive things.
Especially because it's like because they're like indexing the addition. You know what I mean? Like, we're throwing everything away. Everything's out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
this is like you threw everything away, but this is the thing you kept.
Yeah, 100%. You know like, and it's also it's a like, we're probably not seeing a change for 3 years. You know?
Yeah, you modernized the house, but you kept the shag carpet on the walls. That's
cool. Because it's cool. Because it's cool.
Yeah, and speaking of editions, so the start of third edition was very similar to this, and that makes me kind of scared, right? Because like that's the whole thing is the start of third edition. The battle tactics were very simple, the missions were very simple, and the realm rules were simpler. It was like the monster edition, right? So I'm like, are we just doing that again? Are you going to start out simple and then realize, oh, simple battle tactics suck because everyone gets a perfect score on their battle tactics?
Blizzard Wizard.
And then you're like, oh, we got to make it more complicated. They made the battle tactics more complicated because they were unhappy with how everybody was getting perfect scores.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, we got to make these harder. But what they really, because you had 14 to choose from, what they did was they just made it so it's like, all right, well, there's 3 you automatically do.
Yeah.
And then there's like 4 that you really can do, and everything else you just throw in the garbage. Yeah, you don't care. You only have to score 5.
And like factions literally live and die by like their easy battle tactics or their easy grand strats.
That's true. I'm surprised that they brought in Grand Alliance battle tactics, and I do think they're better than faction. But I think because there's only 2. It feels like it's going to be kind of weird.
It's definitely not going to be as impactful, which it shouldn't be. Like, we had a problem with that before.
Yeah, but I feel like it's weird to keep around because you're not going to be, if you try to like use that as a lever, now you have
it affects everybody.
How many order factions are there? Yeah. So if you want to change like the 2 that order have to like quote unquote balance a faction, right? You're going to accidentally balance 8 of them.
No, it's not the lever. You don't pull that lever anymore. Like, that's not a thing that you can do.
Yeah. And then again, I thought they would keep battle tactics specifically with faction ones, purely because it was the easiest lever to change someone's win rate from 43% to 51%.
It's gone. That lever's gone. They gave it away because everyone hated battle tactics, and then they were upset when they gave them better battle tactics.
That is true. I think, like, again, I've said this before. Like, I don't hate the battle tactics system. I just hate the way that it's been implemented in third edition, I guess. is like the battle tactics feel they're either pre-planned and I built my list to do these battle tactics and I don't interact with my opponent, or my enemy has 3 battle tactics that are just gimmies and that feels bad. Like there was a bunch of like faction specific battle tactics that were just really feel batty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or that they were so convoluted that you had to pick specific units in your army to go do them. So I think that fixes the majority of that issue. Now my issue is just the battle tactics are still here.
Yeah. The fire is smaller.
Yeah. It's, again, like, I don't hate this system. I think this is going to be very interesting. I'm just scared where this leads us. I'm also kind of disappointed that if we're going to index the entire edition, this is the thing you kept.
Yeah. I agree. Weird. I mean, there's a lot of, I think there's a lot, there's going to be a lot of things they kept. But yes, I agree.
Also true.
You know, like, I think it's fine. I think it's, we'll know. You know what I mean? We'll know. And hopefully they use this as like a learn. If it sucks again, which it might. Oh, I hit my mic. Which it might. Maybe we don't get it next time. Oh my God. It's okay. 40K is going to do it first. Whatever they do next, they're going to get it first. And then we're going to get whatever works.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I lost my train of thought. I think that these are better just because your opponent has the ability to interact with them in some way, shape, or form.
I agree. The only problem is this is also a fuck you game. Like it's like you need to be 6 inches away from me and also in this table quarter. That's crazy.
Redeploy. Power through. And then now I'm 5.9
and countercharge.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's.
You can't redeploy and countercharge, right?
No, you can't. That's but good. Like, if they land outside of 6 or they land outside of 9,
listen, outside of 6 is 7. That's all I'm saying. Outside of 6, that's very chargeable.
That's very chargeable. Yeah, I mean, well, there's not going to be a whole lot of. We also don't know how for specifically Reclaim the Realms. We don't know how the reserve system is going to work in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So other order factions might also not. They might have access to a teleport like Stormcast currently do.
Yeah.
And they might have access to putting things in reserve like Stormcast and Seraphon currently do.
Yeah, like you think they're going to like move. They're going to move things around so that they basically like distill out easy ways for everyone to do the Grand Alliance stratagems, or not stratagems, but whatever the fuck. What do they call them? The
battle tactics. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. So. It's just like it feels. I like the Grand Alliance battle tactics because again, less. I think less is just better.
That's better.
It just feels weird because I feel like Stormcasts are going to be like you basically wrote a Stormcast one, but everyone else also has access to it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Harder.
It's crazy.
The time to get stuck in one is an Ironjawz one, but
it's just
somehow
bad.
Your goblins.
It's just bad.
Yeah, somehow your goblin ones are also supposed to do that. You know what I mean? So like, I'm confused with the Grand Alliance battle tactics because if you want, I don't know.
I mean, things aren't running away anymore, so it's like. I mean, nothing really requires them to stay around, but I don't know. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, dude. I think I feel like we're not going to know if the faction specific ones are good until we see the indexes. You know?
Yeah,
and
we
see
if you can physically do them. Has. I mean, that's the first thing you're going to do when you look at it. It's all right. How do I score?
Can I score?
How do I score these battles?
It's not how do I. It's can I score these battle tactics?
Can I physically do that? Yeah, you could write a list where you just can't score the battle tactics. That's a choice you could make.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what the other 3 universal battle tactics are going to be. If I see successfully chant a prayer or successfully cast a spell,
I'm going
to be like, dude, my guy, my brother in Christ. What are we doing here?
My microphone's falling off my desk. I'm having technical difficulty.
Because you tried to move it. You're not supposed to move it. You see how mine is center?
Yeah, but I want it to lean back and be comfy.
No, you just sit here and talk at the camera, James. You don't move everything around.
We're in chill mode now. The podcast has been going on a long time. We've gone from formality to informality.
Informality. Okay. Speaking of informality, is there anything that you want to say at the end of this, either about the GHB, the battle plans, the terrain layouts, anything we've covered, battle tactics, Any final notes that you want to talk about?
I would say that like I'm excited to see what's coming next. I know that next we're getting Spearhead, so it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to see. The more we learn about the edition, the more informed I feel like the conversations we are having is because like of how interactive this next edition is going to be. It changes. Like if I got the battle tactics first before I got the new commands, like I'd be like, oh, these are cake. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's nothing to think about. This is like brain dead, you know.
That's
but
fair.
you get to look at it through like you have more perspective on kind of like what the edition is going to look like. So I'm excited because we're going to get like the more information we get, the more, you know, we can really distill what like a 2K point game of AoS 4 is going to look like, you know?
Yeah.
So excitement is what I'd like to say. And I'm not against battle tactics. I'm a battle tactic hugger. I'll admit it.
You're a battle tactic enjoyer. Yeah.
What do you think?
I think the battle tactics are better. I think everything I saw in the GHB section I liked. I love the seasonal rules. I think they're just enough sprinkles to not take away from the main course. My only hang-up is battle tactics because they still exist. I am glad that there's more counterplay. I am glad that they're more clear and simple, and that you can potentially do them with the units that you brought, and not like, oh, I brought these units specifically to do this thing. Even though you're still going to have that specifically for like Stormcast and Reclaim the Realms. I'm excited to talk. Like, I don't know. I'm excited to talk about Spearhead because I think like I have a couple friends that are on the edge of the hobby.
Yeah,
and
they're like this close to joining.
Yeah, I think they'd enjoy this, especially since it's becoming like their main game is Magic. So they're like their brain already works the way that these rules are written for. So it's going to be very easy for me to give them the Rats version of the Spearhead
and just
or the like. I have the Stormcast Spearhead. We could do Stormcast Spearhead v Stormcast Spearhead. You know, and very easily like play the game. Next week we're also getting, on top of Spearhead, we're getting Endless Spells, Invocations, and Faction Terrain. Whoa. So they're confirming Faction Terrain isn't going the way of the dodo. Thank you, please. I still need to paint mine.
Give me my Bloom Shrine.
Yeah, I spent so long trying to get a Loom Shrine and painting it. If you take it away from me, I'm going to cry.
Oh, I would literally cry. It's the best thing I've ever painted.
Yeah, and then they also said you might get a shiny new miniature, which means showing us a miniature next week, which is cool. We might see the Rat Sails. We might see the Stormcast on Bird.
Can't wait to see a Stormcast hero. Can't wait to see a foot hero.
Yeah. Oh.
They all look the same.
People were like, they better give us. It's funny, like they better give us a Stormcast mage because they literally took away every other Stormcast mage except for the Knight Arcana.
Yeah, well, it's because she's the only one left, dude. They're gone.
She survived the burn.
Everybody else went back into the grinder. You know what I
mean? No, they went up to heaven to they
went to Grimdark Heaven, which is a meat grinder.
No, they're going to be studying on how to get the souls from doing the Reclusian stuff.
Yeah, you're right, Kyle. They are going to be doing that big word that means nothing.
Yeah, I know. They're going to a farm up north, and they're going to be happy until like 3 years from now when they bring them back, and they're like,
sell us models again.
You threw them all away, and they're back. Don't do that. If you sell the models, don't buy them again. Just keep them. Just keep them. Put them in a box. Throw them in your garage. They'll be back in 3 years.
Sell them to me. Sell them.
I don't want them. I have some. They're gross. They're ugly. I hate them. Sacrosanct, non-enjoyer, terrible time. All right. But yeah, that is how we're going to score points and how we're going to win games for the next 3 years. So,
or how we're going to lose them.
I can't wait. I can't wait to take the flanks and then get counter shot and be like, damn, it really do be like that.
I can't wait to get 10th at a 10-person tournament.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.